I wanted to share some information with y'all that we got from the Leslie Zann. When she was here, they did a jewels dinner for her on Friday night, and they ended up, I guess, the girl that was hosting it, like a bunch of them ended up inviting some people that weren't jewels. So then I got invited to go to it too. So she gave us like tons of notes during dinner on Friday night. And the event on Saturday was from 9 to 3. Prior to hearing her, I never heard her before, but if she ever comes back again, I would highly recommend that everybody go see her. Like, it's definitely like that. It was from 9 to 3, and it literally went so fast that I was surprised how fast it went. It was really, really good. So I wanted to kind of start to share with y'all. So it might seem a little choppy because I'm going to share like my Friday night notes with you. And then we're going to go through some stuff that she went over on Saturday. So just remember, it's kind of like 8 hours worth of stuff that I'm going to try to cram into my highlights. And I'm going to try to get y'all like out as quick as I can. So it's going to be like highlights for sure. And I know that Lisa's doing a call tomorrow night, or not tomorrow, on Thursday night, with Candy and Marla too, to recap. So you might want to listen into that as well, because she might give different perspectives or different things that they took away from what I had. The number one thing that she gave us was that you owe it to yourself to work your own business. Personal development is a must. And I'm just going to say that on the get-go because we're going to talk about it as we get through here. But I think, like, I know Kelly and I have discussed this before. I've talked about it with Bridget. Like, that's one thing that once you get to a certain point, that you work a lot with your team, and then you end up not working your own business as much, and you really have to work your own business first. Like, that's the first thing that you have to do. One of the first things that she talked to us about on Friday night was when a team member asks you about business that's not going well for them. There's a couple of things that you need to ask them. Number one, how many business builders have you sponsored in the last 90 days? Not wholesale shoppers, not people that are dabbling. How many business builders have you sponsored in the last 90 days? Number two, of those, how many have you gotten to silver or above? And number three, how many of those that are silver, that did silver or gold, which she lumps them together in a fast start, even though we don't have like a silver fast start, but basically that went at least silver or gold within the first 30 days. How often does that happen with the people that you sponsor? And like, we were all like, well, not a whole lot, probably. And she said, well, why? Let me tell you why, because it's not a goal. You do not set it as a goal because you're fearful, and you have a vision, but you're afraid that they won't have a vision, so you're scared to give it to them. So you have to set that as a goal. And that's one thing that, like, I know myself, I've never, like, you tell somebody, like, yeah, you want them to get silver, but I've never said to somebody, your goal is to do this in the first 30 days, like, point blank. So to set that as a goal, that pace is what is going to duplicate. So if somebody starts out going real slow, they're going to keep going real slow. If they come out of the gate swinging, they're probably going to keep on swinging. So it's what their pace is and what your pace is what's going to end up duplicating. Right now is the time to set your goals through the end of the year. I know that we talked a lot about summer slowdown in the last few months, and I'm going to share, because I do know that this is in my notes for sure. She kind of almost, I wouldn't say she mocked us, but she kind of did whenever we talked about summer slowdown, because Leslie actually was she's worked with in network marketing before, and she's also been in product development for in training for network marketing, like on the corporate side. So like, you don't really get a whole lot about her. She knows kind of both sides of this kind of business. So her response with that was, the reason why you have summer slowdown is because you need to revise your hours. Kids are home, there's vacation, there's events, there's summer distractions all over. So she said to look at the things that could be pluses to that, like meeting new people, expanding your business. What you do in the summer sets you up for the end of the year. And what are you doing in the hours that you do have? So, I mean, obviously for most of us, the hours that we work in the summer, we're probably not working the same hours that we do when the kids are at school and all of that. So you have to be purposeful with your hours. And one thing I've heard her say multiple times, and we may get to it in some of these notes, is that you have to calendar your hours. If you are not, like if you have, I mean, all of us are women on here, I think. If you have an OBGYN appointment, it's in your calendar. Kelly and I have 9 kids between us. If our kids have a doctor's appointment, it's on our calendar, hopefully. I won't say that I haven't missed that before. But
like the dentist, they send me text reminders.
Yeah, and let me have them all scheduled on the same day in the same bracket, and I get like 5 of them. I'm like, okay, I got it. I'm coming, I promise. But you calendar those things. When you know you're supposed to be at your day job, you know when you're supposed to be there, and you calendar those things. You have to calendar your work for this business. Otherwise, you're just dabbling, and that's the term that she used. Staying consistent. When you quit talking to people for 2 weeks, don't wonder what happened. Like, that is what happened. You stop talking to people. That, when you do that, like, you're killing your own momentum, like you're dead in water at that point. Like, it's completely restarting everything if you take that kind of time to do that. When you're trying to rank or maintain rank, and then because you've kind of slacked off, you're trying to work with the wrong people. And I know that we've all been there and done this. And she said beating inactive to death is not going to get you where you want to be. So we want to, like, if they're already inactive, in that because of things that we've done, like at some point you just have to move forward. Personally sponsoring, she says pay yourself first. You have to be prospecting. And then as a leader, you have to turn to your team. And I know that this is really hard for me, or has been in the past. And who deserves your time? Start setting boundaries. Don't get sucked into the, quote, barely active people, and slow your pace down to what theirs is. And like, I know personally, I'm guilty of this because I had somebody message me, I don't know, last week before. It was the week that we went to this, so maybe it was 2 weeks ago. And it was one of those barely there people. Like, they might post once a week. They might post every day for a week. They might go MIA for 6 months. And it was like, hey, I think I have somebody that's going to join. Can you do this call with me? Well, really what I should say is no, I can't. Because that person is not a priority person to me. Now, like, as an individual, I have a hard time with that because I'm not going to tell somebody no that really needs my help. But at the same time, like, they need to be doing their own, like, if you're not being consistent working your own business, then you can't just be jumping around and adding people, like, whenever you take a notion to add somebody. Does that make sense? Like, if you're not being consistent on your own, you can't really just keep sorry, somebody's trying to message me. But like, if you're, for this particular person, okay, well, they've not worked their own business. They don't get on Zoom calls. They aren't paying attention to any posts. They're not participating in challenges that they have to be a part of. Is that a person that I should go and give my time to, because I only have a limited amount of time that I can work, and that includes my own business and supporting my team. So you want to make sure that you're actually supporting those people. She gives it keeping it close to the chest in your levels 1 through 4. For those of you, like I know we have some that aren't even gold that I invited on here yet, so you may not have 4 levels, but you're going to be there, trust me. How many of those in your levels 1 through 4 do you have that are silver, that are gold, that are senior gold? Have you looked at that data, and are we duplicating? Setting goals outside of your primary leg and challenging them for growth, which I think can be a challenge for all of us. But you have to know that you have runners on your outside leg. So I think that can be a challenge. But I think moving forward, if we take these things and we apply them to our business, it's going to be a lot easier to be at that point. Take your strongest ranks and grade them based on their activity the last 90 days. Rate them levels 1 through 5. 1 meaning like not much activity. 2 is probably where I would have ranked that person that I was talking about. Like they might post here or there. They might look at something. They're not really engaged. 3 is some activity. Maybe they get on a Zoom. You know, when we were doing weekly Zooms, to me, a level 3 person would be somebody who maybe they got on 1 a month. A level 4 person would be that they're adding people. Maybe they're doing some Zooms. And number 5, level 5 is a champion. Your level 4 and 5, they are your runners. So it doesn't matter what level they are to you, they are your runners. So invest in them. A lot of people in this business get, you know, like, well, I don't know how to do this, or I'm afraid I can't lead this, or I can't do this. And repetitively throughout this whole process, she continued to say, mindset trumps skill set any day. If you think you can't do it, then you can't do it. If you believe in yourself and you believe that you can do it, then you can do it. And then you find the way to make it happen. So it's all in what you have in your mind. When you have negative people, you know, those ones that like to blame their upline or say, well, my area is just saturated, or, you know, I just need to take a step back. You know, those people, introduce them to personal development. And personal development daily should be a requirement for everyone. Make yourself where you can have candid conversations. Emerging leadership is the ability to speak your mind, especially with friends and family. And I can say this very genuinely on this call, because Kelly's my upline and she is friend, but she is family. And my sister is on this call and she is in my downline and she is family. So and Candace, like I've known Candace, I knew her from outside Plexus too. So, you know, you have to be able to have that conversation that, you know, I deserve permission to speak to you with my leader's hat on. Their response, you can't control. You know, a lot of times we'll do that, like even during this weekend when, you know, we had that dinner Friday night and then it was all day Saturday, and Bridget would look at me and she'd be like, I'm talking to you as your upline right now. Here, you know, like she would say stuff like that to me. So like you have to be where you can talk to people without worrying about them getting offended, because it's very easy to be like, well, I can't discuss that with her. So that's what you don't want to have happen. If your downline is having a conversation with somebody and they can't really seem to get through with them, then you know, bring somebody on the line with them, you know, and kind of talk them through it. Like, you know, we see your unrealized potential. Like, you're not believing in your own self right now, essentially. I mean, like, I don't know if that's the wording I would use there, but, you know, to walk them through it. Don't be afraid to pull somebody that's having a problem in your downline. Don't be afraid to pull somebody from your upline in to have that conversation with them with you. The people that you have on your team, your leaders, are what will make the difference. This is when she was talking about our company and where our company fits, and having seen her, she worked with Rodan and Fields in product development. She worked with BodyWise in the field with BodyWise. And when she was talking about our company and the numbers and just where we are as far as growth, she said, write this down and be very careful. This is the wrong time in this business for you to be complacent. It is the wrong time, because if you aren't out there and you aren't building it, somebody beside you is going to start, because Plexus is blowing up, and if you're not taking advantage of the opportunity, somebody else is going to. So it's the wrong time to just sit back and not do anything. She said for people who want a testimony first, it doesn't matter if the product, it doesn't matter if the products have already worked for you. I know tons of people that the products have worked for. What matters is how fast that you want this business. And that, I mean, that really is the truth. Like, how fast do you want to grow? She said, how many people should you personally recruit? More than you are now. That was her response. That more than you are now. How many direct level 2s do you want to create? How many new silvers? Hold people to the fast start goal. Hold people to silver within 30 days. You know, like, you want to really be pushing people for that. If you're pushing somebody for fast start goal, they're going to at least be silver in 30 days. And then you've at least gotten them to that, you know, and the realm of it is like, if you set the bar to here, then they're going to come to here. But if you set the bar to here, they're going to come to here. So while they may come below what the bar is, that's okay. But like, if, for example, I'm giving somebody a goal to hit 500 PV, well, maybe they'll hit 500. Maybe they only hit 4. But if I give a goal of 1,000 PV and they're really pushing for 1,000 PV, then they might hit 600 or 750. Even if they didn't reach that 1,000, they're still going to do more than if I had set that bar lower for them. Does that make sense? One of the things that I love the most that she said, because I'm so 1,000% guilty of this, she said, don't try to motivate people. You need to find motivated people. Because when people want something themselves and they're motivated for it for the right reasons, that's when they're going to make it happen. But you can't motivate somebody that's not motivated to do it themselves. Make your own time valuable, like what we were discussing before, with who should earn your time, and truly people need to be earning your time. She shared like several videos and stuff with us that I would love to share with y'all at some point. And if I do like a post or something with this, then I may try to find some links to some of them, because there were some that were very very inspiring. Okay, go get your text. Okay, you go get it and do not come back in here. Yeah, it's 9:30 and he's been supposed to be in bed for an hour. We won't talk about that. I'm going to just kind of read through some of her slides here from the presentation. Your present circumstances don't determine where you can go. They merely determine where you start. No more of this, I should be further along, or so-and-so's here and we started at the same time. I should be there. And like, hey, I'm guilty of this too, because I know people who started after I did that are the same rank as me or that are higher rank than me. And like, it happens, it's human nature. But she's like, be done with that. You have to let that go. Stop beating yourself up. She did the video. One of the videos that she did was on this girl, Amy Purdy, and she got I want to say bacterial meningitis, and lost both of her legs at the age of 19. And so she showed this clip of an interview that she did, and she said, I had dreams. And so I decided that I could either lay here in the bed and wallow in it and not get up and do anything, or I could accept it, and that if my life was a book and I was the author, how was I going to want it to go? And she's like, I wasn't going to wallow in sorrow. And so she was a snowboarder, and she said that she visualized herself actually snowboarding again, like that she could feel it. She could feel, the air blowing on her, the smell of the snow, like she literally visualized it for herself. And, she went on to snowboard again. She didn't know how she was going to make it happen. She just knew that it was going to happen. And so Leslie said, like, when you're sick and tired of being in your business and you're tired of being stuck, you will move. Everything is possible if you believe. Your mindset is going to determine where you go. And think with the end in mind and be consistent. One thing that she had us do, and it was a very, very powerful, like little 15-minute thing or whatever that we did here. She gives 7 life categories, and y'all jot these down. Number 1 is physical, which is obviously for your wellness. 2 is mental. Where's your mindset? 3 is spiritual. 4 being family, friends and relationships. 5 being career and money. 6 being adventure and recreation. Like, where do you want to go? What do you want to see? And 7 being service and contribution. And she said, I put that at number 7 so I can remind you that it should not be left. And that would be for your giving back in the ways of time, money, and support. So the one thing that she had us stop and do is a vision quest. And that's for you to go 12 months into the future. And she said that she does this twice a year. So like, it might seem like it's a timely thing. But like, if you spent, an hour doing it, it's not really that timely. Twice a year to spend an hour doing it. But go 12 months into the future and write as if it's already happened. And she said, make it good, because it's not happened yet. So don't sell yourself short. Make it good. Come from a place of gratitude. And like she had us do ours. You know, like the career and money. The one she gave us several things. How has a successful business changed your life, your family's life, your lifestyle? What is your paid ass title? So what title would you be at in 12 months? And remember to don't sell yourself short. What is your monthly income? What skills have you mastered that used to be hard? How do you impact your team, your customers? What do you love the most about your success? What are you wanting? What are you doing that you enjoy and want more of? Describe how you spend your days. What mentors guide and inspire you? What can you see for yourself that you couldn't see before? And y'all, I'm going to tell you, at the time that we're sitting there and like, that's the day that like all the jewels started getting their Kona invitations and stuff, which is always a big deal as to how they announce them and stuff. For us to be sitting there and like, I had Bridget on one side of me and Angel on the other side of me. And, you know, we all kind of split off when we started writing, but like to come back and like Bridget had a list of we're getting ready to go to Hawaii with, and she had like all these names listed of all these people that were going to be going to Hawaii next year. Like that, like it gives me goosebumps, like even right now. You know, those are the kind of things that you want to be putting in there. Like if your destination is to be emerald by that point next year, then write that, incorporate that. What has that done for you? How's it changed your life? But see that into fruition. And she's like, you know, always remember that it's not something that's already happened. So you want like make it as good as you can make it, because this is your thing, you know. But to do that over all 7 of those areas. I'm trying to see if I want to go through this set. She was talking about like how you feel as a person, the confidence, pride, and achievement that you have. You made the commitment, the decision. How does that make you feel? What do you love to do that you don't do enough of? What can you see for yourself a year from now that you can't see now? And those are just some kind of things to kind of help get your mind going when you go to do that. If you knew who you were, you'd be in awe of yourself. You aren't your past. Talk to yourself the way you deserve to be spoken to. And I think that was very powerful, especially going into that thing. So I would love to see everybody do that vision quest, that little exercise. And of course, there was a bunch of quotes and stuff that she used throughout the day. And like I wrote as fast as the girl could write, and I still couldn't catch everything. And she even gave us pictures of the slides. So I'm telling y'all, it was good stuff. One of the quotes that was inserted here was, the greatest discovery of all is that a person can change their future by merely changing their attitude. And, you know, we talk about that a lot in our business, but it is so overwhelmingly true that what you say to yourself in your mind has a lot to do with what you will or will not achieve. of course, we had a couple of sales notes in here when she was doing some of her things because she had some books and stuff. And I did get a set of some stuff. And when I'm done with it, I'm going to kind of share it through our group. The power of pace. Okay, so we want to talk real quick about the power of pace. Getting people where they want to be. Pace yourself for your business and the pace that you set for your new ambassadors. The faster you help a new ambassador take action, the greater the odds are that they're going to stick. The longer you take, the greater the chances are that they'll quit before they even start. So when you have somebody join, you really want to be, if they're going to do this for business purposes, you really want them growing and going right out of the chute. How many business building ambassadors who actually want the business, like those are things that you should know. Like how many, especially on your smaller teams, like you should know like how many people that you have really want that and who you're working with for that. Why aren't you turning more silvers? If that's from lack of belief, and we talked about that already. Pour into them in the first 30 days. She said, we're so used to playing small for ourselves that we're doing it in front of our ambassadors. And like that really just almost like stabbed me in the chest, you know, like if we think, oh, well, you know, if I didn't do this, then they can't do this. Or we really sell ourselves short, so we sell them short. And we cannot do that. The power of pace, taking immediate action, soaring to silver, fast starting gold. The benefits of a good pace, obviously earning back their investment. They have confidence in themselves, the company, the business opportunity. They're having fun at that point because if in 30 days you've gone silver at least, you know, like this is something that can happen. They're more likely to lead by example. And then to have a story of like what their first 30 days has looked like for them. One thing that we say a lot in this business that she really despises, I guess, is she said, you don't fit this in the nooks and crannies of your life. That is a hobby mentality. She said, no, you can tweak that and say that we will purposefully fit this into the nooks and crannies of your life. That's a business mentality. But just kind of saying, you know, well, we'll throw it here or there whenever you can. That she's like, that's hobby mentality. And if you work it like a hobby, how do you get paid? Like it's a hobby. So we want to really be working it purposefully. So yeah, you can work it in the nooks and crannies of your life if you do it purposefully. Always go back to their why. When you're talking to somebody, you want to be home with your kids. You know, like if somebody's giving you your why, like, okay, so I wanted to be home with my kids. I wanted to not have to go to the extremely stressful job that I was going to, and to be able to provide for them. Okay, so when you would talk back to me, oh, okay, so, you know, you want to be able to be home with your kids, make more money, like whatever their why is. You're going to restate their why to them, and they're going, obviously, you know, I would say, well, yeah, of course. Okay, let me share with you how some successful ambassadors have made it happen. Okay, so when you have that person that's ready to work the business, you link their why into their activity, and that's how you do that. Let me share with you how some successful ambassadors have made it happen. Step number 1 is for them to go silver. Okay, so we want you to go silver, and we want you to do the first 30 days. So then you're giving somebody kind of a plan of action to help them get where, like, this is their why. This is why they want this business. So here are the steps I'm going to give them to you on how for you to reach your why. She says, like, that's a 4-time return on investment in the first 30 days. We have to show them how to don't play small for them. I mean, and I think that most of us are guilty of doing that. Like, we are guilty of signing somebody up and worrying about putting, like, I don't know if it's that we're just worried about putting too much on them or, you know, whatever that is, but we don't set that goal for them because we're afraid. Well, we got to let go of that because, you know, for some people, if you told them go in silver and then you can make X amount of money with this much, you know, this many customers, this much TV, like, that could change their life. That could literally get people from where they can't put gas in their car at the end of the month to take their kids to school to where, like, they have the room to breathe. You know, like, that can be life changing. And I'm speaking, like, from a single mom mindset. $500 a month is a lot of money when you don't have anywhere else for it to come from. So, you know, like, when I started this, I was working full time. So it wasn't as about the money for me, but, like, what a disservice to me Kelly would have done if she had just, like, let me do what I said I wanted to do. You know, like, what if she had just let me just hang out and do that, instead of saying, hey, you know, just one more and you'll be silver. You know, and I'm like, what the crap is silver? Why do I care? What is it? I mean, you know, but, like, what a disservice to do to somebody, you know, for them to not even know. And we want to make sure that we're not doing that. Like, don't sell them short. Don't sell you short just because, you know. And she's like, okay, well, just because you didn't go silver for 6 months doesn't mean that Susie over here can't go silver in 6 days, because her network might be different than yours. She might be more serious than you are. She might be more on the grind. Her why might matter more. So, like, every person, you have to go into that and not look at, like, because you didn't do it or somebody else didn't do it or whatever, that you're going to sell them short. She talked about what stops pace. So we talked about the power of pace, the benefits of pace, and then what stops it. Information overload. Do not add people to 95 team pages. You just can't. Bridget's actually to a point now of where, like, you're seeing your goal page and then your next jewel page. You know, we talked about that. So I was like, hold up, sister, like, I'm gonna need people to be added onto my team page, you know. That you genuinely, like, you just can't add them to 15 different team pages. Like, you lose people when that starts happening. Like, you want them to go somewhere where you know they're gonna get critical information, they're gonna get it fast, they're gonna get inspiration. But you know, like, they have to have that, but you don't want to add them to 15 different team pages and start doing, you know, tagging them in 90 different posts. Like, that information overload, and it just scatters somebody else. So the best thing that you can do when somebody joins is talk to them, whether it's by voice messenger, or actually getting them on the phone and having, like, you know, hey, I need, like, 15 minutes of your time to kind of walk you through some stuff, because you can do that way easier and communicate with the person way better and build rapport and relationship with them than if you're just tagging them and stuff. And look, like I said, I'm guilty of this too. She said we can't go backwards. We can only work on what we're going to do moving forward. So the next point under information overload was texting instead of taking action. So, like you want to actually be communicating with them, not by text. Not knowing the next steps. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing if you're not guiding them on what to do. Not delivering a balanced message. And if they're not talking to enough new people. So, people want to keep their communication lines open. And one thing that she kind of pointed out, and I never really paid that much attention to it, honestly. And I mean, like, obviously, I grew up when we didn't have cell phones when I was in school. And we kind of joked about that because Bridget's sister graduated a year ahead of me in school. I was like, girl, you remember we were big stuff if we had a pager. I mean, and that's the truth. Like, if we had pagers, we thought we were something. But now people don't talk to each other. And Leslie used the example of, like, going in, like, the airport room. And she said, like, before flight or something like that, she's like 15, 20 years ago, if I was on a flight, we would go in, you're talking to people, you're actually communicating with them face to face. And now this is what everybody's doing. And nobody talks to anybody because everybody's got their face in their phone. And it is so true. And like I tried to, Kelly, can y'all hear me okay still? Okay, I just got a text from somebody saying that they couldn't hear me. And it's so true because, like, I paid, like I kind of looked about it, like when I went to my daughter's soccer game, and like, here's all these people with their heads down. I'm like, that's why we don't meet people anymore. So, like, I had to, like, make a conscious effort because I'm pretty introverted when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like, I'm not the one that's going to go up and be like, hey, and just introduce myself to all these new people on the soccer team that I've never seen before. That's not me. That's not my thing. But please believe that Sarah is team mom. There's a group of 4 of them that have played together since their kids were like 3. And I mean, like, I could name you like 5 people that are moms on that team. And if it had been probably before this little training right here, I'd have been just one over there on my phone and minding my own business and wouldn't have cared. But like, I was like, okay, I feel like my network is getting smaller. So how am I going to continue to develop my network? So those are ways for me, that I'm going to have to do that. So you want to make sure that you.
Can I add one thing, Felicia, that I thought about while you were talking? Like, even if you're at those events and you're not on your phone, but you're just kind of checked out because you're so busy that you're, like, playing through in your head. Like this past week, for example, I've been trying to walk, and I was walking at the rec center, and some mom stopped me. I didn't engage in conversation at all. And she said, hey, I'd like to introduce myself to the moms. And I thought, well, gosh, I hadn't even, like, made eye contact with this girl. And yet she was going out of her way to speak to me. And it really did trigger to me, like, gosh, like Alicia said, my network's getting small. I need to take the time to make that effort. And all I was doing was walking, but I was busy focused on, like, oh my gosh, how much longer until I can be done with my 3 miles? When really I should have been looking around to see who there was I could talk to.
Right.
And of course I get the girl's name and don't get her last name. So I'm like, I can't connect with her. So I think that we have to slow down a little bit in life. When it comes to those times when you could be engaging with people, because it's like Alicia said, we don't talk. You may be texting, or you may be being like, okay, my kids are at soccer and this is like my babysitting time. I need to, like, veg out. But I think maybe we do need to try to make an effort to engage instead of checking out, So, sorry.
I agree. And, like last week, a girlfriend of mine was in the hospital that I used to work with, and we were very, very close. And you know, like I got there, like I know her son, but her son was back with her where she was having a procedure done, of course, when I got to the hospital to see her. And there's her sister who I had met like once, her mom who I had met like once, you know, so I'm like basically in this waiting room with all of her family that I don't really know well at all. And but I had on one of my shirts, and I mean, I was there. I was probably there for an hour and a half before her daughter-in-law said to me, "So do you do plexus?" Now she's on my Facebook. Like, how do you not know that I do plexus? If you're on my Facebook, like, do you see anything that I do? And so we started talking about it. And it ended up with the cousin that's sitting over here going, you know, I'd really like to try that stuff. Somebody's been talking to my wife about it, blah, 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 blah. Like, opened up a whole different avenue for me just by engaging with people that, like, I could, if I had sat there on my phone the whole time, like I normally would have, you just don't know how hard it is when you're so addicted to doing that to, like, put my phone in my bag and like talk to these people that I don't really know, which is way out of my comfort zone. But you know, it ended up being something that I had no interest in it being on that day for my purpose of being there. But you know, in conversation, like who knows what that could end up being, you know? Um, so for sure talk to people, and that's leading us right into um to this right here, the power of your faith. She said, there was a quote, I was convinced that I was talking to enough people until I actually started talking to enough people. Um, because she said talking to one new person a week, that's a very slow pace. Like that's not going to really get you anywhere. She's like, if you want to talk to 10 new people a week, you might be getting yourself somewhere. But, you know, for me, those are the kind of things that even kind of started to trigger me. Um, we're going to talk about your funnel. Like when I was in banking, we called it our pipeline. So whatever floats your boat, call that. But we discussed finessing your funnel. And she said you should have two main goals for finessing your funnel. Number one is to keep it, to fill it and keep it full with as many prospects as possible. To shorten or condense the time period from first contact to their ultimate decision. And this right here is what got me. She said, if your funnel is empty, you are out of business. Just she was she wasn't a beat around the bush kind of girl, if you catch. So if she said you stop prospecting when you have three people in your funnel, and then what happens? One of them isn't responding. One of them's a no. One of them's going to get with you later. So basically, those three people, your funnel isn't. So she's like, you know, you have to continue adding people to your funnel and then limiting the amount of time that you let them stay there. So even if you know, like you set them to the side or whatever and say, okay, this person's really not in my funnel, they're just kind of hanging out. And you're continuing to add people in there. She said, don't slow down your pace because it will steal your joy. Don't slow down your prospecting pace to match the decision-making pace of the people in your funnel. And I think, oh geez, like I'm like, has she been spying on me? Because I've been guilty of that too. You know, like, okay, well, I got these three good people that I'm talking to up here. So if just one of them goes, well, why am I waiting on one of them? Like, there's thousands of other people out here. Why am I waiting on just one of those three? So continue. Your reason why, when your why is so important that you will step through fear and insecurity and be determined, that's when you'll make it. Your clarity around your why becomes your foundation. It drives your discipline, your action, and your commitment. Revisit it and refresh it often, and never underestimate the power of a clear why. I think that that's very powerful. Some other things, and I'm not going to obviously get through everything that I wanted to get through, but I want to real quick. I'm scanning, sorry y'all, to make sure. Like, I want to hit on a couple of things. She talked about three-way calling and actually gave us a handout about it. And we had like role play three-way calling. And doing three-way calls. Like, so if like I have somebody and I want to do a three-way call with Kelly, then I'm going to ring Kelly's phone, and Kelly's going to answer her phone. Hey, this is Kelly, and I'm going to say, hey, Kelly, it's Alicia Moore. And when I say my last name, that is her immediate cue that she knows I got a prospect on the line. So, I mean, because normally I wouldn't, I mean, she might be like, yeah, was it, yeah, what is it? But, when I give her my last name, that's her cue to know that I have somebody on the line to do a call with. And so then, I'm going to just kind of introduce the two of them and kind of say, okay, Kelly, I have, my friend so-and-so on the line. And then Kelly's going to be like, yeah, I bet y'all were talking about plexus, aren't you? Like I'm going to introduce them and then say, tell Kelly for whatever reason that I want her to talk to this person. Like Jennifer's a teacher, and, I really thought that you could offer some insight with your history with teaching, and, how you've made plexus be a full-time income for you. Set up that and let that person do it, and do it live. Whether it, you can do it in chats, but she really, really recommends doing the three-way calls. We'll do a whole nother, like I'll do a whole nother Zoom probably about the calls. Give yourself a 90-day plan. Like, where do you want to be in 90 days? All right, so for us right now, we're like running on the end of August. So really, 90 days is going to be the end of November. So I would even say that our 90-day plan at this point could be pushing us through the end of the year. What are your goals? Where do you want to be by the end of the year? What is going to stop you from getting there? And your mindset being so powerful. And like, I actually looked up the story because I found it like so, like I was so overwhelmed by it. And now I can't even think of the girl's name. She was a gymnast. Oh gosh. My sister probably knows her name, but I can't think of it. Okay, I can't think of the girl's name, but anyway, this girl was born with no legs, and she was adopted. Like, her parents abandoned her because she was born with no legs, and so she was adopted out. And all she wanted to do was to be a gymnast. Like, that's what she wanted to do. And obviously, you can see the general challenge of, if you have no legs and you want to be a gymnast, how that could probably be a setback. And her dad started working with her and stuff, and over the course of time, like, she ended up becoming the tumbling champion of the state of Illinois. And like, I have goosebumps. And later, like, at some point, this is one of those things that you'd have to like really look up the story if I could remember the girl's last name. She asked her adopted mom, do you like know anything about my real family? And she said, well, I need for you to sit down. Oh, this girl that wanted to be the gymnast, like she idolized this gymnast whose name I can't think of that's making me crazy. And it's a very, like, if I said her name, all of y'all have probably heard of her. But she idolized that girl. Like, she wanted to be like her, like that's who she wanted to, like, be a gymnast like this girl.
Dominic Moceanu is the girl
Yes.
that's the gymnast, and Jennifer Bricker is the other girl's name. I just Googled it.
Yes, thanks. Okay, so
Bricker, Bricker.
So, thank you. It's in my other notes somewhere, but okay. So she asked her adoptive mom, like, do you know anything about my real family? And she said, well, I'm gonna need for you to sit down. And she's like, Mom, I'm always sitting, like, and she goes, maybe you need to sit down. And the mom's like, yeah, well, I probably do. And she's like, your last name is Moceanu, or however you pronounce your last name. That girl that she had idolized her whole life is her biological sister. And they went through, like, all this stuff, and basically they ended up meeting and all this. But I tell you that story, and you should really look at it and Google it. But what if she just said, I can't? What if she said, okay. I mean, and I think we would all feel that it would be very reasonable for somebody with no legs to say that they can't be a tumbler, but what if she said, I just can't, so she walked us into, if you want to catch your dreams, you have to drop your fears. And are you settling in something because of your fear? And I'm going to real quickly give y'all these top 10 fears. The number one fear is being pushy. Limiting belief in your own head to succeed in sales simply. Talk to lots of people every day. It's not about you. If it was, then that would be all right, but it's not. And I'm not going to ad-lib on these things because I could talk probably for 5 minutes on all of them, and I'm going to try to get through all of them in less than that time. Number two, fear of rejection. They don't want to do it. They aren't ready to do something about their health. The day you realize that will set you free. Rejection doesn't mean that you're not good enough. It means the other person failed to notice what you have to offer. Number three, being judged. She talked about 3 crib promises. Control, security, and pleasing. You can't let praise or criticism get to you. It's a weakness to get caught up in either one. I mean, obviously, the being judged, I think, is very self-explanatory. Number 4 is leadership. What am I going to do if it gets big? Are people going to really follow me? Can I really lead this team? Leadership is developed with experience and mentorship. Leadership is your challenge to be something more every day. And number 5 is failure. We're all going to fail forward. My great concern is not whether you have failed, but whether you are content with failure. And that's a quote by Abe Lincoln. You wanted to be so much more once, but life kept getting in the way. You settled. And I think that speaks to a lot of people. Number 6 is incompetent. It's okay to grow and improve as you go. It's the first time in history the older generation has to look to the younger generation for survival. Setbacks are only ever devastating when one thinks they last forever. Number 7 is fear of success. Don't give up what you want most for what you want right now. Average people look for getting away with it. Successful people look for ways of getting on with it. Number 8 is being compared to others. What if you stopped and compared yourself to your possibilities instead of others' actualities? Try not to get lost in comparing yourself to others. Discover your gifts and let them shine. Number 9, disappointing family. And she told a story here about this lady that was having to go out to a business thing and the kid wanted to go, and I could so visualize this being me. The kid wanted to go and he was crying, and she said, I can't take you with me tonight, but one day I'll take you everywhere. And that was a motivational speaker, and when she was speaking and she talked about that, when she told them that she had made that statement to her child, she then brought up pictures of where they had been, in all these places around the world. On safaris and literally, when I say around the world, I mean literally around the world, Africa and all over Europe and all of these things. It's okay to make a small sacrifice today for having what you can give them later is really the point of that, And if your family supports you, then that shouldn't be an issue for you. Number 10 is being unequal to the task. For things to change, you have to change. You must learn a new way to think. So think of what your number 1 fear would be. And then Leslie has a thing that's a pep talk, which is probably on her site thing now, but I will try to get that and post it to kind of work yourself through what those fears are. And at the end of the day, it's time to take action. You have to step forward in everything that you do. And at the end of the day, did you tell your truth? Did you meet your commitment? And did you do your best? To go forward is a commitment. And one of the last things that I noted was I can be grateful and joyful and still not at my destination. If you're not happy and satisfied, let go of the past. You're at the perfect place at the perfect time. And I think that just kind of goes to, that God, it is all in God's timing. But, I had somebody tell me once that, God gives you sense enough to know how to do certain things too. We had somebody, a good friend of mine that was praying for a job, and, my pastor said, well, God's not just going to walk up to you himself and say, here's this job. You have to actually be applying to something, or, it doesn't just magically fall like manna out of the sky. You have to actually be doing something to get yourself there. So it goes back to that adage of work like it all depends on you, and pray like it all depends on God. And that's the truth, So I hope that gave y'all, I know that it was a lot of information. I know I've kept y'all longer than I normally do. And I really talked as fast as I could, trying to shove through that. But if you want to hear some more information about this, like I said, I will section off and we will do some Zooms on some of these things. But Lisa, I'll post that. I haven't posted it yet. but Lisa's doing that call on Thursday night, to recap the Leslie Zann meeting too. So, Kelly, is there anything that you wanted to add or throw in there?
I don't think so. I was just going to say the only thing is when you were talking about, I think it was her number 9, when she said something about the sacrifice and the gain. I was listening to one of Tamara's calls when we were doing our Silver and Seven, and I have it on my phone because I loved it. It was a quote just like that, and she said she kept telling herself, "Short-term sacrifice for the long-term gain."
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what Leslie Zann said. And I just love that God kind of puts that in your face more than once within like a month's time, to remind you that,
Yep.
like, yeah, it may be hard at times. And yeah, you may have to give up things that you would rather be doing. Like you might rather be watching Fixer Upper right now, but you got on this call instead, So
Right.
the short sacrifice, this is definitely going to pay off more than an episode of Fixer Upper. So short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. So true. So
Absolutely. So remember to pay yourself first, work your own business, keep prospecting, keep your funnel full, and, make sure that your own personal growth, whether it's, like for me, like I determined one of the things that was holding me back in my business that I know is a mental block of something that I have that's real personal for me. So the only way I can get through that is to make something else happen. And so for me, my personal development time is making time to work on that for me. And it doesn't mean that I quit working my business during that time. It doesn't mean that I stop or hey, I'm just gonna go work on this because it's one of my. No, it's something that I have to work through. So, I think figure out whatever it is that's holding you back and work on those things to help yourself. So, like she said, if we only took one thing out of that whole meeting with her in that 6 hours during that day, then take away that your personal development is the most important thing that you can do for yourself. So I really appreciate y'all hopping on. I'm not going to hold y'all any longer. If anybody has anything else that they would like to say, I do want to thank y'all for getting on. I know that it's been a long call, and I appreciate it. So hopefully y'all took something out of it. I'm not sure if I'm going to post this recording. We'll talk about that a little bit offline. Kelly and I will. But I do have it recorded so we can at least share it with any of our leaders that weren't on. So thank y'all for your time. I really appreciate it. Y'all have a good night.